truly, Brevin Thompson is back, and welcome back to my annual Halloween special. This time I'm going to be talking about The Lost Boys, which was directed by Joel Schumacher and produced by Richard Donner. When it comes to Joel Schumacher's work as a filmmaker, he's mostly widely well known as the man who destroyed the Batman franchise at the time. Well, I don't put much of the chunk of the blame of how Batman and Robin turned out on Joel Schumacher. I put most of the chunk of the blame on Warner Brothers because Joel Schumacher has apologized so many times on how Batman and Robin turned out, and I do respect him for that because, like I said, I don't blame him for how those films turned out. But I would say if I were to talk to any Batman fan who was at all disappointed with how his films turned out, I would say just ignore his Batman films, watch The Lost Boys, because when it comes to The Lost Boys, it's one of those perfect films, in my opinion. So the film tells a story about two brothers and their mother moving into the town of Santa Carla to live with their grandfather, but the boys discovered that this town might be crawling with vampires. A few months ago I got this on Blu-ray, and I didn't know what to expect at first, but even before that, I watched another Schumacher film, The Client, and I was really surprised by how good The Client was, and I was like, huh, maybe I should check out what else Schumacher did. And so I decided to check out The Lost Boys, and I was really surprised by how much I love The Lost Boys. So I watched it again in preparation for this review, and I've really come to love this movie. I think it's easily one of Schumacher's best, if not his best film. It has basically everything that you would want from a film like this. I mean, of course, you have vampires. You have two characters who understand the vampire lore. Of course, the Frog Brothers, played by Corey Feldman and Jameson Newlander, who are easily the best characters in the movie.
Does your brother know who that vampire is?
No, I don't think so.
Then you'll have to kill him. And if you don't, then we will.
This film is filled with likable characters. I already mentioned the Frog Brothers, who are easily some of the best parts of the film. But you also have Jason Patric and Corey Haim as Michael and Sam. And when it comes to Michael, he's doing his best to fit into this town they moved in. And he's attracted to Star, who's played by Jami Gertz. I hope I pronounced her name right. And then after that, he's challenged into a motorcycle race with David, played by Kiefer Sutherland. I think that he's also one of the highlights of the film. And this motorcycle race almost results in Michael nearly getting killed. And then after that, they go to David's hideout, and David and his gang are eating noodles while Michael sees worms and maggots instead of noodles and rice. And then David gives Michael a bottle filled with wine, while in fact it's filled with blood. And when Michael slowly begins his transformation into a vampire, Sam is of course freaked out by this, so he goes to the Frog Brothers for advice, who advise killing Michael, but Sam is of course against that. So their next plan is to find the head vampire and hopefully cure Michael of being a vampire. So Sam and the Frog Brothers suspect that Edward Herrmann's character Max, who's dating Dianne Wiest's character Lucy, they suspect that Max might be the head vampire, so they perform their vampire test on him. They feed him garlic, they splash holy water on him, turn off the lights to see if he glows in the dark or not, or if he casts a reflection in the mirror. But he passes all those tests, and it turns out he isn't a vampire. Or is he? So the boys decide to go after David. They manage to kill one of his vampire gang. And after that, they go back home. They prepare themselves because they know that David and his gang are coming after them now. There's one death in particular that I think is very effective, and it's when the Frog Brothers and the dog push one of the vampires into a bathtub that's filled with garlic and holy water, and he completely dissolves until there's nothing but his skeleton. And then after that, you get blood coming out of the sink and the pipes and everything, and it's something out of either It or Evil Dead. And I'm like, Jesus. And another one is when Sam fires an arrow at another one of the vampires, and he, like, flies back into a stereo and it electrocutes him, and he blows up. And that line where, that line that Sam says, "Death by stereo," classic. Michael and David have what's admittedly a pretty good-looking fight, and Michael, of course, ends up killing David, and you would suspect that that this would result in Michael and Star and Laddie getting cured of their vampirism, but they're not cured yet, so they suspect that there's at least one more head vampire, which turns out to be Max. That's right, Max was the head vampire this entire time, which confuses the boys since Max passed the vampire test. And his explanation on how he passed the test, I really liked.
But you passed the test!
Don't ever invite a vampire into your house, you silly boy. It renders you powerless.
Which makes sense because, I mean, a vampire can enter someone's house without being invited at first. How the film ends with the grandpa crashing his truck into the house and having, like, one of these fence posts hitting Max directly into the heart, which results in his death and Michael, Star, and Laddie being cured of their vampirism. And the grandpa reveals that he was a vampire hunter this entire time. There's just so much to love about The Lost Boys. Joel Schumacher's direction, the cinematography, the writing. It has a great soundtrack, a great cast. It just has, like, everything that you would want from a film like this. And this is, like, probably Schumacher's best film, in my personal opinion. And if you want a good vampire movie to watch this this Halloween season, I definitely recommend The Lost Boys. It's certainly one of the best. And since I've only watched this like a couple of times, I've really come to love this movie. I honestly have no problems with it. It's a perfect film in my opinion. And I'm really surprised to say that I'm going to give The Lost Boys an A+.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
So what did you think of The Lost Boys? Let me know in the comments below. And guys, thank you so much as always for watching. Looking forward to doing more videos really soon. And if you want my thoughts on old or new films, of course, you know where to find me.